Welcome back to Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Robert Winters.
And I'm Judy Nathans.
So we were not here last week.
No,
but
which was just fine with me.
that was fine. So happy Memorial Day.
Oh, right. We usually also never
We
come
like to
after holiday, but you
we
also
extend
had
holiday
a work
weekends.
retreat, so it worked
Yes,
out well.
Yeah. So it's I actually got out of town. Some of my friends
Yeah,
said,
you
"What?
never-
You're going out
I
of
know,
town?"
no one believes you get out,
Yeah.
especially in your bus.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I drove
Did it
my
make
bus.
it?
It made it. Yeah.
To Ipswich?
Well,
or
when you
somewhere?
drive a
Yeah.
40-year-old vehicle and you haven't been driving very much in the way of distances, you do like what is it, like 37 miles or something. You park it, and then 2 days later you go with the key and you figure it ain't going to start. But it started just fine.
So you don't periodically start it?
No. Just,
right.
you
You're
got to,
lucky.
you cross your fingers and you hope.
Yeah, well.
That's the way it goes, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, it was okay. Actually, up at the Crane Estate is actually an
That's
incredibly
where it
beautiful
was?
place.
Yeah. Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah, kind of almost surreal when you think
Wait,
about it.
they put you what? You don't stay there. You just had the
Well,
conference
there's
or
the
retreat there?
great house which has
Yeah.
the alley that looks down toward the ocean,
Yeah.
which is just incredible, really.
But that's just for
And then there's-
events. They don't house people there, do they?
No, but then there's a thing called the Inn at whatever
Oh.
the name of the hill, Castle Hill.
Okay, so it's in the
And,
same grounds?
Yeah, it's trustees of
Oh,
reservations
right,
that operate
yeah,
it, so they make a little dough off it. And
So anybody can book a room there?
yeah,
It's probably booked
yeah.
a lot because of these events, though.
Yeah, I mean, it ain't cheap, but
Yeah,
it's an
no.
incredible place. And you hiking around there. It was great.
Nice.
Actually.
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah. So I mean, I'll have to go back. It'll be worth it, I think.
Yeah,
So anyway, so we're back. Cambridge City Council came back.
right. And lots
As
of
well.
committee meetings. And...
A lot of things are
a lot
happening.
of
I've
things
certainly had my chance to testify at least one of them. Maybe
Oh,
I'll say
yes.
something in
I
a bit
did,
about
I
that.
did hear you.
Yeah.
It was last Tuesday before
Yeah.
you went away.
Yeah, actually, maybe I'll just say something about that since we did talk about
Municipal
that.
ballot, right?
Yeah, so there was a
Government operations.
yeah, it's actually something that's not actually under the jurisdiction of the Cambridge City Council to decide.
Right.
The thing is that the 1938 law that established the Planning Charter gave the Election Commission certain flexibility in modifying some very few aspects of the way the PR elections work in Cambridge. But one of them says, well, if because of some new emerging technology, they have had the right since 1938 to reduce the number of choices that you can express on a ballot to no less than 15.
Choices
and-
meaning mark off.
Right.
Like
So
first,
there's
second,
no limit
third,
on how
yeah.
many candidates can run, but instead of, if you had 29 candidates, in principle, a person would previously,
Rank 29.
you could have ranked, now extremely few
Right. But some people
vote
are very
that much.
diligent, yeah.
And I did the experimentation to
Yeah.
determine that in fact it's absolutely pointless to
Except
vote
that
beyond a
I
certain
didn't
amount.
understand Tim Toomeys' comment about his first election and how he got it on the 26th vote.
He's wrong. I mean, I can
Ah.
pull out the election data.
Okay.
I think what he means is
Yeah,
that in the
every
very
vote
last
counts.
count,
Yeah,
he was still getting ballots. Now,
because of the exhausted
well,
candidate.
well, the thing is, he was still getting ballots, but he would not have known whether it was a number 27 ballot or whatever,
True, good point.
right?
He was just getting ballots.
he was
because the count
continuing
was
to
still
get it in
going
the
on.
very last count.
Yeah, so he was
But he would still be getting those. Most of those ballots that he would have been getting were
Yeah.
not because he was getting a ballot where he was ranked number
You know, I
25.
Yeah,
It was,
you know
it was
what? I
probably a
think that's
ballot
what
he was
seemed
ranked
to
number
imply.
3 or
Yeah.
something like that. Because
Oh.
the thing is that if you have a person who is relatively popular,
Right.
but who was not elected, it's like say it was the 10th person standing when
Mm-hmm.
it's reduced to 10, so they're declared defeated. That person has a lot of ballots that
Right,
they got
that are going to get
that were
distributed.
their original number 1 ballots. And when they now get counted out, the number 2 is if there's any candidate still needing ballots,
It's going to go to them.
it goes to either number 2 or the 3 or whatever, whoever
that's
still
what
needs it.
happened.
So that's what happened.
But that's really
I- you know, I-
misinterpreting stuff. Have you talked to
I,
him? I mean, I just feel
I
like
didn't
if
talk to
people-
him about this, but
Okay.
the thing is, the funny thing is I've been watching these folks for so long, including Councilor Toomey,
Yeah.
and so I said to myself, well, if he had to vote on this, I know he's going to vote against it because he always votes against these things.
But then he gave that as a reason, and I
Yeah,
just
I mean,
thought that
this
was
is the same Councilor Toomey who,
Yeah.
and I laughed when he did this, so this
Yeah.
is not said with any meanness.
Uh-huh.
Back when we first adopted the computerization of the elections,
Oh,
which was
right.
about
I think he brought that
1995 or 6.
Yeah.
I think either 1995 or 1996. It was 1997 was the first one we actually did with the computerization.
Uh-huh.
And it was Councilor Toomey who said, I'm worried that the day after this election, we'll wake up and find out that there have been 9 MIT students elected to the Cambridge City Council. This was his concern about
because
these
they're
technological
savvy
people.
my
They're going to
goodness.
somehow rig the election, right?
Oh, dear.
I don't know if he literally
It's the
believed
Russians,
that, but
Tim.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
worry about the Russians
So
now.
when
Yeah.
Tim says it, whether he's a little
Yeah.
steamed or if he's just trying to be funny, I appreciate it. I get a kick out of it.
Yeah, but this
You
was
know,
not being funny. I think he really thought that what made a difference in
Right.
his election, but it,
And
now it,
and like former Mayor Alice Wolf, there was
Mm-hmm.
some concern that somehow you're
oh,
disenfranchising
that's right.
people
She
with
was
limited
against
choice.
this too, but it's
Yeah,
not.
but
I mean,
but
my
I
goodness.
think they misunderstand
Yeah.
what's really was being proposed.
Right.
So
Everyone
anyway,
gets a chance to be on the ballot,
yeah, and the thing
But-
is that I
yeah.
I ran the
Right. to at least 2 elections.
I
right?
truncated the ballots to 15 on actual ballot data and just reran the election.
And even on the ones that were really
Yeah,
close.
in this razor thin
Like 6
election
votes, 7
where
votes.
where there was a recount in 2013,
Right.
identical. Just
Yeah.
not a single change
Yeah.
in any round.
Seriously.
Same thing in 2015. And the only change was in 2017 because it wasn't just because we had a lot of candidates, it was that there were 2 candidates who never actually reached quota.
Oh,
And
right.
what that means is that in the very, very last round, they're still looking for ballots. So they're actually picking up a few of these sort of ballots that weren't even preferential for them. They were like, I'm going to give that bum a number 26 because I despise him. Well, the ballot goes to that
I
candidate
see.
because if they haven't reached quota, they still can. They're
Now, do
eligible
they
to
have to
receive.
reach quota to be elected?
No,
They
no,
don't.
no. It's one
You
of
just
and
have to exhaust
yeah,
all the ballots.
And I think I even said this at the hearing that I took the opportunity to say, look, if you're going to be out doing voter education, to sort of inform people that you can vote for up to 15,
Right.
right? By the way, I at this point I think we're probably going to have about 15 to 18
Yeah, it
candidates.
doesn't seem
I don't
like
think
a
we're
lot
gonna
of
get the
interest.
big
Because when is
field
the
of
deadline
candidate.
to declare?
The
July
deadline,
something?
you don't have to declare, but the thing
Oh.
is what you do is
Something
you pull papers, as we say. There's all these
That's-
Cambridge terms. I love it.
Yeah,
Are you
pull
gonna pull
papers.
papers?
But I
right?
think that's said a lot of places.
It is, but I like it. You got to. What do you mean? But somebody will say, "What do you mean pull paper?" You can pull nomination papers.
Okay, and then when's the deadline
and that's
for that?
July 1st is when they.
And then you have-
unless it's on a weekend, but it's usually
Okay.
July 1st.
And then you
is
have to
when-
get signatures?
And then you have to get 50 valid signatures. You're allowed to submit up to 100, no more. And there's a reason for that because every signature counts towards you. And in the old days, somebody might actually go around and try and get lots and lots of signatures, just if they were pretty popular, so that it would make it harder for other people to get the
Oh,
signatures
that's crazy.
because you can only be counted
Right.
for one.
Wasn't there talk
person.
of trying to raise, I guess when there were so many candidates previously, to raise the threshold, the number of signatures they would need to sort of
You'd
weed
have
out
to change the
serious-
1938 law. That's
You
one
would,
thing.
okay.
The Election Commission doesn't have the authority to
I
change
see,
that.
so that would be a law change.
Yeah,
Wow.
you'd have to go for home rule legislation. And
Okay.
honestly, for something as microscopic as that, nobody's going to ever bother to make such a change. But it's a pretty low threshold
Well,
for
that's
entry.
what I mean.
You know,
That's
getting
the whole
50
point.
signatures.
I
Heck, I
know.
could even get 50.
I know, but what I'm saying is it would separate really serious candidates from someone that, but maybe that's
Maybe
not
so,
fair. I
but
don't know.
honestly, I've seen some pretty non-serious candidates just go right out and get themselves over 50 valid signatures.
Okay.
It's
Well, it's
not
not hard to
that
get 50.
hard, right?
Come on.
I mean, the thing is that just gets you on the ballot.
It doesn't do anything else.
It doesn't get you elected. If you had a lot of kind of fringy candidates, and we've had some elections where we had a fair number of fringy candidates, it just sort of becomes kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to disenfranchise anyone or in
Right.
any way hinder anyone's
Fringe
right to be
away,
a candidate.
right.
But the truth is that if
Yeah.
insofar as there's any value at all left in things like candidate forums, running through a parade of 27 candidates,
It's crazy.
Where they all sort of say the same thing in the same way.
Wait to the Democratic debates. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
oh my gosh, that's going to be
25th
ridiculous.
and the
I heard
24th and the 25th.
I heard they were doing things now for the
It's gonna be
presidential debates when, if and when, well,
No,
when those
you're right.
happen.
September, the third one, they're going to have to reach certain thresholds.
You have to reach
Yes.
thresholds to get into be
And
a
money,
tier one
exactly.
panel, and
This
then
one,
the
the
second,
threshold's less.
yeah, so they'll probably have other panels
Something
for the
like
other candidates.
3% in the
Right.
polls of the
Yeah, I think that's the
popular
only
polls.
way to do it.
Yeah, and also money. 130,000 donors from 20 states. Or
Yeah.
a certain amount. I don't know. But it makes
Right.
sense.
I think they.
There's like 24 candidates.
Well, it's also a practical necessity.
Yeah.
Right. The thing is that if you don't weed it out in some way, then you're just going to be looking at 20
And you know what's annoying? Is it
indistinguishable
too
people.
late to do ranked choice voting for the primary in
I don't know.
Massachusetts?
I know that there were a lot of the people from Fair Vote, is
Yeah.
a national group, have been promoting that we should be using ranked choice balloting
Absolutely.
for the primaries.
Yeah.
And my first question when
Yeah.
I heard that was, I said, well, and what are you going to do with the ranked choice ballots? Because, so what if you can rank the candidates? That just gives you a lot of data, but how do you count the ballots, right?
Well,
So-
I thought they count the way you would exalt. No?
Well, but the thing is, if they were electing 9 counselors, they would keep transferring ballots
Oh, that's
until
right.
you
We're
whittled
only
it down to
electing
9.
one candidate.
If it was a winner-take-all election, you would whittle it all the way down until there was one candidate.
Okay, but
left
then you might
standing.
have but for instance, the one in Lowell, that's an example given because they won by
Yes.
very low.
No, I
Or even
actually,
in Chicago.
if
same
I
thing.
were
Yeah.
declared king tomorrow,
Oh, okay.
then what I would do is I
Yes.
would mandate the use of ranked ballots for this. I think it's a good
Yeah.
idea, but people need to be really clear what you're going to do with those ballots.
True.
Now, if in fact I don't know what the rules are, and they may vary from state to state.
True, yeah.
But let's say you're in a state where, in order to get any delegates at all from the
Oh, you have to
popular
be winner
election,
take all.
you have to. No.
Oh.
Let's just say that you have to. The only candidates who can get delegates
Yeah.
would be those who break a certain threshold of, let's say, 15%.
Oh,
Right?
and states have different.
Right.
Rules about that,
Right. So
okay.
the thing is, then what you would do,
I see what you're saying.
and again, you'd have to make sure your
Yeah.
voting machines could handle this, and I don't
True.
know that they can.
Probably not.
Right. But the thing is that if you did it that way, then what you
Mm-hmm.
could do is you could count. You could start off with your, what are we up to now? 24.
It seems that way. Yeah.
Right. So let's just say that. I mean, first off, with 24, it's actually not crazy
Yeah.
to believe that you could have 0 candidates achieving the 15% threshold.
That's a good point. You're right.
You know,
It'll be like 10,
so-
9,
so-
11. Yeah.
So nobody gets any ballots, right?
Right. Wow.
So that's crazy.
yeah.
But let's just say, just to make believe that it
Yeah.
was a state where you had to get 15%. Then what you could do is you could just start off with your 25 candidates,
Yeah.
reduce it to 24, 23, 22, and you just keep whittling it. And then some people hit 15%, and then they're declared, quote,
Well,
elected.
that's what I'm saying. If you can do 1, 2, 3, then your third would go.
Right. But the thing is that, unlike in Cambridge,
well, it's
you know,
different.
because
You
of
have 9
proportional
counselors.
representation,
Yeah.
nobody would be able to get above a certain threshold.
Right.
But that's not how you would want to do it, because if
No.
somebody was enormously popular and legitimately was entitled to 50% of the ballots, you should let them get 50%.
No, I understand that. So there is a difference.
Yeah.
I understand.
So you
that,
might
but
only
it-
have one candidate who breaks 15%, which is how I probably wouldn't be the case.
Right,
for
but
the
when you have like a
presidential primary.
29% and a 30%, like that's
The-
not right.
The Democrats
Yeah.
actually typically, I don't think this is true for every state, but
Yeah.
typically they allocate ballots roughly proportionally
Right.
according to your share in the primary
Right, that's true. It's a
Right.
fraction. thing.
of those who
Yeah.
actually break the threshold. Okay, the Republicans were doing primarily winner take all. That's
Right.
why.
That's why Trump.
That's
is
why
president.
Trump is president of the United States.
Oh, change that.
If they had
Yeah.
done a different system, it's quite likely he
it's-
would never have even gotten the
That's
nomination.
right. That's right.
Right? So the Republicans should
Ah.
be taking a good, strong look at how they do
Yeah.
business. But, the people who are in charge of the party right now, they are
Oh, they're not gonna
typically
change a
making the
thing.
rules. So they,
Yeah.
what I don't know for sure, but I think they may actually solidified it
It's
so
Trump's
to make it
party
even
now, they
more.
say,
Yeah,
so.
and that's a pretty sad
Trump
reality.
and McConnell, I know.
Yeah, but the thing is the Democrats, if they're going to allocate proportionally, which I think they typically do,
Yes, they
but
do.
not to everybody. So if you have somebody who gets 1% of the ballots in the primary, they're not necessarily going to get 1% of the
they
delegates.
have to reach a certain.
You have to, let's say it's 10%, 15%, whatever. So what you could do is you could just keep reducing the field, right, until you, and then anybody who hasn't achieved that, you eliminate them, transfer the ballots, continue doing until the only ones remaining are the ones who've surpassed the threshold.
Yep.
Then you take a good look at them and you say, okay, you got 50% of the votes, you got 35%, you got 15%. You three get ballots according to those proportions.
That makes sense.
But you know, the thing is one of the things that bothers me actually, even with the campaign for ranked choice voting, and they were all over the River Festival in Central Square getting
really?
signatures to support ranked choice voting, which is, I think is great. But the thing is that they sell the idea of ranked choice voting, and that's great. But they don't say what you're going to do with it. And so if you're going to use ranked choice ballots like we do in Cambridge to elect a proportionally representative legislature, right, or school committee, that's one thing. If you're going to use ranked choice ballots to have a series of runoffs to elect one person, that's a somewhat different thing.
But I think most of the time that's what they're talking about.
It's usually single winner,
Yeah.
but the thing is in a state primary, presidential primary, it's not single winner unless you had a winner-take-all system. So what that means is you have
right, but at
to
least it narrows it
elect
down.
multiple candidates.
Right, but at least
Right.
you get more of a choice than just putting one.
Yeah, no, I think it's true. And,
It's
and the
more
other,
of a will of the people.
well, the other thing
right?
too is that if you have 5,
Yeah.
well, actually, you could have 10 similar candidates
Yep.
who are appealing to a block of voters.
I think in the Democrats they have like 20
They-
similar
right.
candidates.
Well, I mean, there's enough differences because honestly,
Little,
what tends to, sadly,
Yeah.
dominate the discussion and the choices is often identity politics when you've got that many, right? So it's like, okay, there'll be
The women,
women candidates, black
gay,
candidates, gay candidates,
black,
whatever.
white,
And-
old, right.
Right.
And
so,
the old ones are winning.
right. Well, it just kind of
The old guy, the old
some
white
people
guys
are
winning.
some people are sort of bothered and surprised by that. I'm not.
It's not going
Well,
away.
I have always known that sort of mainline Democrats throughout
I
the
know.
country are not as fringy as people make them out to be.
No, but there's a big difference.
Right.
I don't know.
I think
You're
they're
right.
a lot more moderate than the revolutionaries are willing to admit. And, you know, they're just regular people, you know, and...
Different than, say, like what happened with Mike Capilano and Ayana Presley, because they were
You know, it's-
mainline Democrats.
Right,
and
but it was at a year when it
Yeah.
was sort of, revolution was a little bit in the
Yeah.
air, and women candidates were actually
Right.
having an advantage in an election like that. And,
Yeah.
and you know, sometimes you also just want to, you know, go for the shiny new candidate too, you know.
Well, also the district had changed, and it really was
yeah,
more
oh, it's
of
true.
a,
Oh, yeah, absolutely true.
And she's fantastic.
Yeah, so
I'm
so
really happy
you know,
about that.
you know, they just wanted to make a change, so they did
Okay.
it.
But
It
you're
was
saying in
nothing
the rest of the
crazy
country,
or
though, it
anything.
might be more conservative
I think
type Democrats.
I wouldn't even say the word conservative. I would just say
Well, they
you
like
know,
Joe Biden. I mean, not that he's conservative, but he's sort of a known quantity. He's older.
You know, right, and I think that a lot of Democrats across the country are worried. I
that
think
no one else can beat Trump.
No, I think they're
Oh.
worried that the whole process could end up nominating somebody who's absolutely unelectable against Trump.
I don't know.
You
Like
know?
a Seth Moulton, Kamala Harris.
No.
combo?
Well,
What about that?
See, these are candidates who I think actually could sell on Main Street ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Marine. He was
Right.
a Marine.
But
he's done,
but if
know.
you end up with candidates who, because let's say it was the revolutionaries were to sort of
if it's Bernie
rise
again.
up,
Bernie
then
might actually. You never
it's
know.
not inconceivable that he
No.
could be elected in a
True.
head-to-head race. But the thing is that, you know, nobody yet has witnessed the type of
Yeah.
ad campaigns that would happen if you
I
had
know.
somebody who was kind of left of Lenin up there as the standard bearer. You know,
Yeah.
it would be kind
But
of
also, there's still maybe
harkening back to the 1950s.
challenges to Trump. I mean, Weld has declared,
Yeah,
but I don't
right.
know how far that's going to go.
I saw a picture of him
yeah.
on a street, you know, looking into, you know, checking the menu at a restaurant, and nobody on the street knew who he
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
except the person who was snapping the picture.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. But anyway, on the ranked choice voting, the thing is that
Mm.
if you're, in fact, what you're going to do is just come up with a better way of allocating the delegates, state by state by state, I think that would be
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
wonderful. You know, but it might actually have to be done state by state. And my personal
Probably,
prediction is
yeah.
it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
The thing is that when you want to make any kind of change in election methodology, the lead time to do that is,
It's
we're talking
way-
years,
yeah,
multiple
right.
years. You cannot in 2019
Yeah.
say, well, this is how we ought to do it in the 2020 election, because most states aren't even going to have the technology available
Do it,
to
right.
carry this out, unless you want to take days and days and days to count ballots by
Yeah,
hand.
so basically to do it state by state, maybe.
You know, in some
Oh.
states where they have the technology in place, great,
Yeah.
you know, but that's just
Well,
not
that'll
how
settle
it is
itself then,
typically
I
right
guess.
now.
So we spent
Yeah.
almost this whole half, but it's important. Elections are important.
Elections are important, yeah.
Um,
By the way, so
Any
the,
new candidates for the
no,
municipal election? No.
no new candidates, but I did hear
Uh-oh.
one new rumor
Uh-oh.
of a woman on 5th Street in East Cambridge who may run. So, sort of part of the Nadeem Mazin's circle
Oh, really?
of political philosophy,
Oh,
I believe.
okay. All right.
But you know, who knows? But no more actual not pulling of papers, but filing
Yeah.
of paperwork with the state to raise money, which is really the measure of when somebody's actually
Have you
active.
seen money totals change?
I have actually.
Yeah.
I updated the total list today, and in fact, there's actually a rather significant amount of money coming in for some of the new candidates now. It's interesting to me, though, that if you're a person who's a little more on the moderate side like me, what you're seeing is a lot of new candidates, but most of the new ones that are emergent are a little on the kind of revolutionary side. And consequently, I'm not so convinced that, I mean, this may be proportional representation, but I don't know where my proportion of the representation is going to come from at this point. Because, you know, it's very possible that some of the candidates that I have liked in the past may actually no longer be candidates.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be at all surprised if one or two incumbents dropped out still. That's not out of the question.
Really? Beyond Jan? Wow.
Sure, it's possible. You know, they want to do this forever. And the other thing too is that if you've got these emergent new candidates, and if they're raising big money, that starts to send a message as well.
So
And
why did you take her name out? Isn't her money still in her account, or did
who's
she?
that? Jan?
I don't see Jan Dever.
Oh, I'm just not including it in it
Oh,
because
okay,
she's just
but
not an
she's-
active
okay,
candidate.
all
So,
right.
when in the table that I maintain, right, which is
Yeah, right here, you
which
can
is
just go to
this
it.
one,
Yeah.
I have one political action committee
Right,
included
that's-
because they're raising
A
piles
Better
of money
Cambridge.
and
Yeah.
and when we really get into the thick of things, you watch ABC is basically going to try and
Oh, yeah.
totally call the shots here, which I think is a shame because I kind of would prefer not to have
Yeah.
political action committees
Well.
tipping the scales here, but you can't stop them.
Yep.
But you know, the new candidates like Bahram Azim is
Yeah.
actually raising $4,000, which is small relative to some
But
others.
still,
Like
yeah.
Charles Franklin's got
Yeah, he's got
over
quite a bit.
8,600. Adrienne Musgrave, who ran again, she's the one.
She's
She's been
really-
raising huge amounts of
Yeah,
money, so
really.
she's up near 20,000.
Yeah.
Right, and she hasn't spent a lot yet, so she's
No.
got one of the biggest
17,
campaign
yeah.
chests right now.
Other
Ready
than
to
Mark.
roll.
Yeah.
But this fellow, this Ben Simon, even did some fundraising, so he's
Oh, he's the
he's got
newest,
himself
right. Yeah.
a pile of money, and there's Jivan Sabrina Wheeler.
Yeah.
He's raised over
He's
$8,800.
doing a lot of.
And-
We got a little flyer
Yeah.
from him.
And Nicola Williams was working at the Cambridge
Yeah.
River Festival. I
Yeah.
chatted with her a bit. She's raised
She's
over
an interesting
$9,000
candidate.
as well.
Yeah.
You know, so the thing is that
Yeah.
it's not like, you know, some of these candidates are potentially substantial. You know, it's kind of hard to say for sure
Yeah.
how successful they're going to be.
Right.
You know, if you have 8 out of 9 incumbents do run, it's still fundamentally a difficult thing to break in.
Yes.
Because you have to do better than one of the incumbents. It's
Right.
not enough to be attractive because we're not going to elect more than 9.
Right.
You know, so one of them is going to win the lottery, right? Presumably, you know, and it's not so easy to target as some might think. I mean, you might say, all right, if Jan Devereaux is not running, then maybe you go after the voters who would have voted for Jan. But many of those voters may very well now simply be beefing up Dennis Carlone's numbers or
Yeah.
one of the other women candidates, right?
Right,
If
right.
you know that's high on their list of criteria. So the thing is that some of the new candidates, if they try going after the people who might have otherwise voted for Jan Devereaux, that might actually be a losing proposition. You know, fundamentally, I think the best way to do is you have to build your own quota. You have to target your own quota, go out and get them. And if you're getting them from somebody, that's harder than getting your own, you know, but
right,
it's
but you
hard to
first do
find
your
your
own,
own.
but then you align yourself, especially if someone's leaving.
Well, I think,
yeah.
you know, one of the things that may happen, you know, is I don't know whether this sort of the existence of slates and political action committees are going to sort of be tipping the scale a lot this year. I know that people are going to try to do that. That's in the pattern in the last few
especially with
elections.
this affordable. That's going to be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's true, but the thing is that I would actually argue that if you've got multiple candidates all fighting over the same pool, then that's not necessarily your best strategy as a new candidate to be part of the pool because, you know, I'm not going to name the names, but I'll tell you there's at least one or two candidates who I know is going to be endorsed by a bitter Cambridge,
Oh, yeah.
who are going to be just a nothing but a sacrificial lamb to feed their other candidates.
Maybe.
And, you know, the thing is, the endorsing organizations like the old Cambridge Civic Association, they never tell the candidate that that's their job, is to basically to die and have your ballots feed the rest. But that's the way it works, because if you only
Robert's telling you.
if you only have enough oomph to elect
Yeah.
X number of candidates,
Yeah.
you know, you're not going to elect everybody in your slate in all likelihood. So somebody's going to feed the rest, you know. So in a way, your chief competition becomes the people on your own slate, quite honestly, right? So that's really where the intramural battle is going to take place.
Well, it'll be interesting to see.
I actually think that there's probably some opening for people. I don't know whether this overlay thing is going to be the defining issue, or whether it's going to be bikes again or whatever. But if it was the overlay, but if it is, the thing is that, you know, once word starts going out around there might actually be opportunity for people who are not enthralled with that to actually target voters who will be looking for a candidate to support that position.
We should probably go into this more because this segment's ending, but I wonder the people that are against it are also for the whole courthouse to be affordable housing. I bet some of those same people are on those petitions.
Oh, amongst the activists, yes.
Kind of a
among the
hypocritical.
activists, yes, but the activists are not going to swing the election. So,
no, but still.
you know, the elections are
It's
much
just, I
more
think,
broad-based. So,
interesting piece of
yeah. So, anyway,
information.
so
See you next segment.
see you in 3 minutes on Cambridge Inside Out.